Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So on the heels of the previous video that I did on my good friend Dappz Man, a lot of you seem to enjoy it. I got a lot of excellent feedback on it and people seem to kind of get a kick out of it. I do want to kind of make clear though right off the top that don't expect this to be a regular feature on the channel. I'm happy to do it, the odd video here or there where it's kind of fun to do, and also where I think there's maybe the potential for something illustrative, something instructive. If there's something we can get out of it, then I'm happy to do it. If it's just, okay, I'm going to repeat the same thing over and over again, they're doing the same stuff over and over again, and we're going to do the same jokes over and over again, well then I'm not so interested. But if you've got any suggestions, I am happy to take them, and I'll be happy to look at it. And if I think there's some kind of an interesting angle or a twist or something that we can use as a good example, I'm happy to do so. So I'll definitely take that under advisement if you want to include that in the comments. So tonight, or I should say this afternoon really, but probably the video will go into tonight. We'll see how it goes. But in this video, we're gonna move from our good friend Dappz Man, and we're gonna get out of the kiddie pool. We're gonna wade into the big blue sea, the big ocean. We're going after the big kahuna, the big whopper. Exactly. And that was also nightmare fuel. Yes, we're gonna be talking about our good friend, Sports Card Investor. This one will be fun. Now, quick aside, before I get into the disclaimer piece. I actually had this video idea months and months and months ago. And the example that I'm going to use is actually a fairly old example. And part of the reason why it's coming back now is obviously we had so much fun with the Dappz Man thing that I decided to bring this one back. I actually had, I knew which videos I was going to pull from on this one once I decided to do it. And like I said, we're getting away from Dappz Man. Or are we? That more to come later. That is again foreshadowing. But the thing about this one is that I decided I was going to focus in on this one just because I knew the videos that I could draw from. I knew exactly where I could pull them from. And like I said, I had actually made a video on this very topic months ago. And when I made that video months ago, I had it all recorded and done. It was a 45-minute epic. It was a magnum opus. It was a wonderful, wonderful, chef's kiss. The problem is the audio turned out absolute garbage. It was completely unsalvageable, and I lost hours and hours worth of work. And I threw it away in disgust. So basically it was gone, and I couldn't get anything out of it, so I decided to basically scrap the idea and move on. But since I knew which videos I was going to be able to draw from, I decided, okay, what the heck, let's bring back the format a little bit here. This will be a little tighter. I'm not going to make this 45 minutes one way or the other. We're going to cut it down to a reasonable number, but we're going to have a little bit of fun, same way. And like I said, really important thing, and now I'm going to get to the disclaimer piece. A lot of these are meant to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek and lighthearted. Yes, I am making fun of some of this stuff because frankly it's worthy of mockery. It's silly. But it's also kind of fun. At the same time though, hopefully there is a lesson to be learned, something to be drawn from. And in this case, the lesson is supposed to be that even a really large content creator, and Sports Card Investor is approaching 100,000 subscribers, is not above reproach. And in reality, when you've got a bigger audience, then truthfully the onus is even more so on you to be very careful of the information you're getting out there, because a lot of people will look at that bigger sub count and say that you're more of an authority. The bigger the sub count, they'll say, oh, this person is more trustworthy. So they'll just take you at face value. They won't double check anything. They won't fact check anything. And in some ways, the thing I'm going to show you in this video is actually more egregious than Dappz Man. Dappz Man, you could argue maybe it's ignorance, maybe it's just laziness, maybe it's just you didn't want to do the work. Or you could say it's misinformation, you could say it was intentional, whatever. In this case, you're going to have a harder case saying it's accidental when it's so blatantly obvious. Because what I'm going to show you in this case is Jeff Wilson is going to do a video where he's going to say one thing to make a point, and then 180 degrees contradict himself in the subsequent video. So you'll see what I'm talking about. So as part of this disclaimer, like I said, I'm not here to vilify Jeff Wilson. I'm not here to vilify Sports Card Investor. If you like market movers and you enjoy it and it's working for you, use it. Use it. Enjoy. With my blessing. You prefer card ladder, you prefer one of the other tools, use that. I don't care. I don't have a horse in the race here. Use whatever suits your purposes. If you like Jeff Wilson, awesome. Put your pitchforks down. This isn't meant to be a personal thing on him. I'm not going to vilify him. I don't know the guy. He could be the most swell fella in the entire world. I'm not concerned about that. I'm focusing in on the content. The content. And for folks that hate Jeff Wilson, put down your pitchforks. Put down your pitchforks. We're just here to have a little bit of fun. A little fun at his expense. We're not, if you want me to sit there and go through the last 6 months of videos and find every little thing he did wrong, then you're not going to get that here either. The idea here is to go through our example, learn a lesson, and hopefully be better for it on the other side. Okay? So with that set in, now we'll move on to our feature presentation, We're going to have a little fun with our good friend, Sports Card Investor. All right, so let me lay the groundwork here for this video. The first clip I'm going to show you is going to be from a video that went out in September 3rd, 2020. So that's when it was posted on the channel or uploaded or whatever the case may be. And this video, Jeff is going to talk about 3 huge lies you've been told about sports card investing. So this video is specifically entailed to try to prove a point, showing his using data in order to basically, debunk some myths that he wanted to do. So why don't we take a look? He did 3 of them, and I want to focus in on the 3rd one. And we're going to look at the example that he gave, what he says about it, and then we'll come back, and then I'll bring up a rebuttal.
All right, let's talk about lie number 2. Lie number 2 is you are better off buying cards during the off season. This is something that I heard a whole bunch of times when I got into sports card investing. Wait till the off season, buy the cards in the off season. Card prices go down in the off season. That may have been true historically. It is not true anymore. What off season? Let's have a look. For example, let's say you wanted to buy some football cards this past off season. Let's look at what Lamar Jackson's cards have done since the day the season ended. That is the very first day on this graph is what his base Prism from 2018 PSA 10 was at. The day the season ended, it was at $275. This was a card that I wanted to buy because I thought Lamar was going to be a good investment. And when the season ended, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to give it a few weeks. I'm going to let people forget about football. I'm going to let people start moving on to other things. And I'll start buying some of these cards up at a discount. Well, they never went down. Even a couple of weeks later, these cards were all of a sudden $350. They were $275 when the season ended. Quickly, they became $350, and then they just continued to go up from there. It was only a month after the season ended that they hit $400. And then they continued to rise and they continued to rise. And 3 months after the season ended, they were up at $600. And 4 months after the season ended, they were at $700. And 5 months after the season ended, they were at $1,500. And 6 months after the season ended, these cards got up to $3,500. Where was the price dip during the off season that we should have all waited for to buy? It didn't exist.
Okay, so that seems reasonable. You pull the data points, you're saying there's no off season for no off season dip. Fine. So you use your data tool in order to make this point. So now, I'll let Jeff Wilson get off, and the prosecution calls the witness to rebut. And I'm going to bring in Jeff Wilson.
Yeah. And if you thought that Patrick Mahomes card prices went up a lot this offseason, you haven't seen anything when I show you Lamar Jackson's card prices. I mean, look at that peak of this incredible, oh my gosh, it's nuts. I mean, if you go back to the end of last season, of course, they were eliminated, obviously, early on. And so that caused an immediate drop in Lamar Jackson's card prices. Where was the price dip during the off season? And so that caused an immediate drop in Lamar Jackson's card prices.
Oh my, what the hell am I wearing? Thought we covered this, or it's not indoors. Don't need this. It's 90 degrees with humidity. I need another layer like I need a hole in the head. Now I'm confused. Now we're back where we started. So which is it? Is there an off season or is there no off season? So here's the thing. Let me quickly be done with the pleasantries and the nonsense. The reality of it is this: he contradicted himself 180 degrees. Video 1 basically just tried to use the Lamar Jackson Prism PSA 10. Fine, no problem. He showed the data. I don't have any dispute with the data because it's showing the chart. The problem is that he used a very select time period, and he actually used the time period that went from the Super Bowl-ish end of the season onward, at which point it basically shows a flat going upward, which was used to convey the whole narrative that, oh, well, there was no off-season dip. Well, awesome, except in video number 2, 7 days later. The second video was on September the 10th. The first one was September the 3rd, the second one was September the 10th. 7 days later, he did a longer video with the other gentleman whose name escapes me, but he goes in there, and the example he cites, he chose this. This is the example he chose. He used the same 2018 Prism PSA 10 Lamar Jackson, but he showed the full show of the time period, which very clearly showed, which he emphasized and kind of stuttered over his words a little bit on. He literally acknowledged that there was a dip after the Ravens were eliminated. The Ravens didn't make it to the Super Bowl that year. The Ravens were eliminated prior to. So when they were eliminated, Lamar's card went down briefly. It was very brief, but then by the time you get to the Super Bowl and beyond, it was already stabilized and it was going to go upward from there. So of course, it's not going to show a dip in the first video when you cherry pick the time slot by which you started. Is it inaccurate? Technically no, because the first video was showing the data based on that time period. The second video was showing the data based on a longer time period. But is it misleading? Absolutely. It's 100% misleading, and it's misleading using your data tool. So my question is that more egregious than Dappz Man? I would argue yes. Now, is that the first time he's made that mistake? I don't know. Is it the last time he's made that mistake? I don't know. At the end of the day, like I said, my job is I'm not here to be the part of leading the brigade of Jeff hate. There's plenty of people who would do that without me. They don't need my services or my help. But the reality is, for a channel that's approaching 100,000 subscribers, the amount of people that are following blindly the information being given, in this case, it wasn't that the data was wrong. It was that it was used in a misleading way to convey one narrative, and then within 7 days, it was reversed 180 degrees to convey a different narrative. Either somebody realized they screwed up the first time and didn't want to acknowledge it, but at the same time kind of reverse it. But if somebody only saw the first video, they're going to get one narrative, and if they see the second video, they get a completely different narrative. And if you saw both videos, you're sitting there confused. What are you going to make out of that? I don't know. But now you see the inherent problem. The inherent problem wasn't that Jeff got something wrong or that they showed something wrong. The problem is that he has a very large platform, a very big megaphone, and when he says stuff, people listen. And that's the big problem. And it's not exclusive to him. He's not the only one. But at the end of the day, all these larger content providers do have a little bit of responsibility to at least pay attention, or to fact check, or to do whatever, or to make sure that they're very clear. You could have picked a different example for the Lamar, the first one that fit your narrative accurately, correctly, and truthfully. But you cherry picked the time slot. You started at the time period where it fit the narrative, and then in the second one you completely contradicted it by pulling it back and showing you the full picture. Well, as it turned out, it wasn't true in the first place. So you could call it a mistake, you could call it misinformation, or you could call it
the lies, the terrible lies.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So anyway, that's the reality for that one. And like I said, at the end of the day, maybe he never made another mistake in another video ever again. Maybe he never contradicted himself in another video ever again. I genuinely don't know. I had neither the time nor the inclination to check every single video that he's ever made. I leave that to somebody else with far more time than I do. But I wanted to use this illustrative example to show that, hey, nobody's infallible. Don't take everybody, take folks at face value. Look into it a little bit. Do your own research. That's the message. The takeaway here isn't, oh my God, Jeff's the worst. The message is, look into it. Do the research. Do a little extra work and don't just listen to what they say and just follow it. That's the big message. Because even when it comes to that, that's data, right? And you would think, okay, fine, well, they screw up a little data, whatever, it's the content, whatever, fine. Well, don't forget, he runs a business. Well, as part of the business, remember, I'm talking about details. I'm talking about paying attention to things. I'm talking about vetting things. So remember our good friend Dappz Man? Kind of a little questionable stuff, right? A lot of you in the comments basically commented on Dappz Man, and you were like, oh, it's a little questionable, blah, blah, blah. Yep, totally with you. So you would think that someone with a little bit of questionable shadiness, a little bit of, I don't know about this guy, you would think that people would be very wary in working with him, wouldn't you?
Remember guys, we also just started our partnership with Sports Card Investor. Please check out Market Movers. If you want to save 20% on your first subscription, check out the link below, click it, use promo code DAPPZ, your boy Dappz.
Yep. Apparently, we can't be bothered to vet the people we give codes to. And it comes full circle. That concludes my secondary ode to Dappz Man, with a primary assist from Sports Card Investor. Like I said, I'm not going to make these videos a regular occurrence. I thought this one would be worth it. I did introduce a little bit of humor. We toned it down a little bit because I wanted to keep it a little shorter and also wanted to focus in on certain specific things. But that didn't mean we couldn't have a little fun interspersed in there. And like I said, and like I promised last time, remember, I don't care what anybody does. I don't care how many, logos and things they show. A real person of integrity, a person who understands the humility, would never spend all their time focusing in on logos and product placement. It's absurd. That concludes it for me. So, if you like the video, leave a comment if you've got any thoughts of anything I talked about, and subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. We'll be back to regular videos. Been doing a live stream this Friday upcoming. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday on the channel. We'll see kind of where we go with it. I can talk about some of the topics of the videos we did this week, or if any other news comes up in sports cards, we can definitely talk about that as well. Otherwise, it's just a hangout. It's just chilling and talking some sports cards. So that's it, and I will catch you in the next one.